Sure.
Am I?
Do you want to be?
Well, I don't know where I am or not.
You are.
I am.
You are.
Tell me the story about the crow's nest.
Anyhow, the Crow's Nest and John, which is the president of the Crow's Nest,
John
which you know
Moyes.
him,
Yes, yeah.
he told me and Jennifer that they're going to have a celebration on anniversary of the Canadian Navy 100 years on 2010, which is only a year from now. And he's interested in my history.
Yeah.
Because there are not too many people from the Second World War around. And if they are, they'd be my age.
Yeah. Are they as good looking though?
Oh, good looking. Man, you need some glasses. You need something.
Now, I was asking you before we changed about VE Day.
Yeah, VE Day.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to know more about what happened?
Where were you?
We were stationed in Plymouth. I was our home port base in Plymouth, EG-11 group, which was the Chaudière, the Capelle, the Kootenay, the Ottawa, and Saint Laurent. And we were assigned to protect the English Channel on the south end of the English Channel, because that's where the Germans would come in. And we were stationed, we were ashore at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was a 2 hours daylight saving time in those days, so you get all the sun you can, because at night the lights were out and factories, they do more work when you see when the sun shines, and it costs less. Anyway, I think the action station went on at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they said the fish would be carried out. I think that's what they used, the fish. I mean, the invasion. And daylight was just coming on, June the 6th. It was one of the longest days of the year, almost. And it was getting daylight. But it was a foggy day, very windy, raining a little bit, choppy, and we took off. So by 6 or 7 o'clock, I see all the American ships around us. You could walk from one ship to the other, there's so many. And the bombarding of the coast of France that morning, so something else, ship upside down. But I did not see so much of that. We were about 25 miles south of Plymouth. But the Americans made a small mistake on landing to France, and they went too far south. So it ended up where we were. They're not supposed to be there, but they made a mistake. And that was good, because if he had gone where they're supposed to, they would have had to climb this big cliff about 45 feet up. They missed that. So we were there with them. And there was everything could happen. There was airplanes overhead dropping bombs, the coast of France, and there were ships. And we were looking for U-boats like you wouldn't believe. We figured the Germans would send all the U-boats they could get. So we did have a few contacts, but we didn't get no U-boats for a whole month. We chased them, but we didn't get them. And you can imagine roughly around 4,000 ships, 11,000 airplanes, and 3 million men and women across the English Channel in a matter of 10 weeks. That day, on Juno, I think the Canadian lost about 350 soldiers that one day, which is not much compared to what they lost later on. But it's the Americans that took the big beating. It was awful. America got slaughtered like you wouldn't believe. We could hear, I remember we came back, we ran out of depth charges. We dropped a few depth charges, we got nothing, but we had nothing. We had no food, no water, no depth charges, so we had to come back to Plymouth, about 12, 15 days later to get more supply. What can you do without supply? You're dead. So as we got into harbor, they got bombed a few times. If I remember right, the captain said, if you want a week off and go to England or to London, go ahead, because we have to sit around for a whole week before we get supply. A couple of ships ahead of us, and it's going to take a whole week to load them ship before us. What's the use of going out there? We got nothing to fight with. I remember I went to London and a Paddington station in London by train. And I look across the street, and there was some building, bed and breakfast. Now, my wages for a day was $3.75 Canadian, but British would be maybe £3 a day. But of course, we had 3 meals for nothing. We had our uniform for nothing. We had no expenses. So, and you can buy a lot of things for $3 in those days compared to now. It's a joke today, but in those days it was okay. So I went there and I got this room. And on my way out, this is a funny story in a way. On my way out, there was a padre, a priest, and he stopped me and he said, "Oh, you're Joe's son. I heard you were in the Navy." "Yeah." I said, "I think I know who you are. I heard about you. You're Father Surratt." "Yes, I am. I'm Father Surratt." "Oh," he said, "you stay in that hotel, in that bed and breakfast?" "Yeah." "How much it cost you?" I says, "My whole, my pay, my day's pay," or I can't remember what it was, really. Well, he said, "When you go to Beaver Club on Parade Street," I think it was, Piccadilly Circus on Parade Street in London. You can stay there overnight for 50 cents, Canadian club. He got a good breakfast, nice and clean, and so I went back, got my money, and went over. And half the guys, they went to a pub and get drunk. So I said, "Well, I'm in London. I'm going to look and see what London looks like." But there was, at those days, there was a V2 rocket and buzz bomb. And the V2 rocket, if I remember right, they aimed them and they sucked them, but the buzz bomb, it could pop up like that, and then the engine stopped and fall, just like a thunderstorm in a cloud, something like that. So you ignore it more or less, because, well, you figure that you're going to get away with it, and I did. I'm here. Anyhow, and I stayed around London. I I asked the taxi. I said, "How much it cost me to see the Piccadilly Circus, the Trafalgar Square, Westminster, the Westminster's church, St. Paul's Cathedral, Buckingham Palace?" He says, £5. "Okay." I said, "I won't pay no more. I want to see all that for £5. And I did. And I went to say to Unknown Soldier and all that. Anyway, the week was up. I'm going back to the ship. So I look across the street, and the building I was supposed to sleep in that night is gone. That night, I heard later on that it was that night. I wouldn't be here talking to you. On the way back to the ship, then we had to get on the ship by 11 o'clock that night. They started to bomb, and there was a shelter. A shelter is like a sparrow. It's brickwork, and it's a circle like this. No doors, no windows. But if you go inside the concrete top, then if a bomb don't hit the shelter, well, you won't get hit by the shrapnel. But there's a chief petty officer, an English chief petty officer, ordered me to get on that shelter, and I was to go in the Liberty boat to get on the ship. So I ignore him because I want to get on the ship before 11 o'clock, bomb or no bomb. You don't know where you're going to hit the bomb anyway, so what the hell? You keep going, just like a thunderstorm. And we were out there maybe, maybe 20 minutes or something like that from the shore when the bomb hit the shelter. But if I listened to him, I wouldn't be here. Those things happen sometimes. You just don't listen. Obey orders don't always pay off.
Yeah.
That kept me alive anyway.
Did you have any other close escapes?
Well, when they bombarded us with those big guns, a few of the shells almost hit the ship and the splash, but it didn't damage the ship. I was lucky in a way. Our ship avoided all that. It's a matter of luck sometimes. Now, you don't see too many thunderstorms here. When you see 2 thunderstorms in 1 week in Toronto, big ones, and you get away with it. We figure it's going to happen the next time. But this is a funny thing in Toronto last summer. My wife has a friend which has a daughter, a granddaughter. We heard about this thunderstorm, and it was near Leslie Street, and she was crossing a park, and she ignored the thunderstorm, and she hit by the lightning. So, sometimes you get away with it, sometimes you don't.
I want to go back a bit. I want to ask you, you mentioned earlier about how you grew up in the Depression.
Yes.
How was that? What do you remember of that?
Well, you know, I was only 16, 15, 13, go to school,
Yeah.
things like that. I don't know.
What did you do for fun?
Well, now a kid comes home and he goes to a computer, he goes to television, he watches all these crazy things on television and so on. In those days, there was no computer, there was only a radio, nothing to do. So you come from school, you play hockey or you play baseball, or you go swimming. Your sport was not in the house, it was outside. So we played baseball, we played hockey, we do all those things. Now the kids, they play computer, no exercise, no hockey, no baseball. They're spoiled now. Maybe you're spoiled, I don't know. You play baseball, play hockey?
No, I don't.
There you are, you're spoiled.
Do you remember, did you have a movie theater?
Pardon me?
Did you have a movie theater?
Oh
when you were
yeah,
kids?
yeah.
What did you have a favorite movie?
It was all cowboy.
Yeah?
There was Roy Rogers and all them. It was all cowboy show.
Yeah.
And that's when you see a movie. Everybody went to a movie because that's the only thing there was.
And how much did it cost to get in?
Oh, I don't know. I think you can go have a full meal in Yarmouth for 25 cents.
Yeah.
If I remember right, well, we didn't have much money to spend. During the vacation, in the summertime, we go pick blueberries outside of the town, you know, and pick blueberries at 3 cents a quart. Oh my God, I made $2.50 today. Oh my God, you were rich. $2.50 now doesn't even buy an ice cream.
Yeah. And what do you remember about school?
Well, I wish I remembered more about school. Didn't go there long enough. I took my schooling mainly after.
Yeah.
I went in Dalhousie in Halifax for 6 weeks on the naval ships, you know. And then in Toronto at Western Tech, Cedar Bay, Ryerson. And ended up being a construction superintendent and build houses and schools and churches, you name it, water treatment plant for around 50 years. So in a way, my experience has equaled to probably even better than an engineer that just came out of university, because it's practical experience what I have. Well, they would have theory, but some practical experience you cannot learn unless you go on the site. You can't learn practical experience in the college. It's humanly impossible. They can tell you what's going on, but most of these guys are professors. They're not construction superintendents. They have very little experience in the field.
So how did you end up in Ontario?
Pardon me?
How did you end up in Ontario? When the
Well,
war,
I took my training there in the Second World War.
in the Second World War, yeah.
So I said, well, I said to myself, I want to go back there again.
Yeah.
I love Ontario. I thought I was fascinated with the big city, and I liked it so much, and that's the place to go. If you're going to be a construction superintendent, you wouldn't go very far in the country. You have to be in the big city where there's lots of big jobs going on. My training was for building, and there's not much building in the country. So I had to be where the work is.
So when did you move to Ontario?
Well, after the war, I stayed in Nova Scotia. I had a little business of my own, woodworking shop. Mm. I worked in St. John, New Brunswick, right after I was discharged. And I had this woodworking shop near Yarmouth, a place called Pugnico, a little town, maybe 3,000 people. And I didn't live there too long, maybe from the time 1939, almost 1940, when I went to Halifax. So that's all the time I spent in that part of the world.
And what year did you get married?
I married in 1947.
1947, yeah.
And my wife stayed in Pugnico with us